And we are live. That's how it starts. This is Central Track, episode 30. What an exciting time to be alive. I am Sam Wynn. This is Jeff Ryman. I've got my man Dave here, who is the president of 21st Amendment Brewery out in San Francisco, among other places, because outside of Texas, cool breweries get to do cool things like that. And we are here drinking beer. My man Ollie DeBose right there. A new dad, by the way. His fresh baby's sitting over there. And we are drinking some 21st Amendment Hell or High Watermelon.
I'm not sure which one this is, actually, right? I mean,
yeah. I'm assuming this is Hell or High Watermelon.
I'm the best sport.
Yeah, nice job, Jeff.
This fruit is messing me up, man.
You can take it out, pour it right.
Ta-da!
So
look at that.
Well, normally we don't do that, Ollie.
Normally the wedges aren't so large, but I think somebody commented in Texas, everything's bigger.
This is Texas.
Yeah, so.
This is Texas. Shut the fuck up and eat the water.
That's actually what you said.
That's what
I was trying to remember the quote.
That's how it goes.
You guys need a shirt that says that. That'd be perfect.
Brain Dead Brewing. Shut the fuck up and eat the watermelon. So we are here, Dave. You want to tell us about 21st Amendment?
Absolutely. 21st Amendment. Okay, so, gosh, what can I say? 21st Amendment. First off, it's the repeal of prohibition. So let's go all the way back and get a little history.
Bring it on.
A little history lesson here. Obviously, the 18th Amendment. Boo. Worst thing that ever happened to it. Well, not the worst thing, but pretty awful law that was enacted where we weren't allowed to consume or manufacture alcohol anymore. 21st Amendment gave us that right back. So it took a few years for people to realize that was the stupidest fucking thing people could ever come up with. And so they repealed the 18th Amendment, come up with the 21st Amendment. So what does that mean to us? Well, it means it's our kind of like our interpretation. I love this. Our interpretation of that is, look, the repeal of the prohibition. It's like our right to celebrate our right to be original, because we took something back that was taken from us, and we have our originality back. And so here we are, so many years later, so many states, so many breweries later, all doing what we love to do, but we all do it with a little bit of a twist, right?
I like that little layer you put on there, like take our ingenuity back. That's cool.
Absolutely. So we started in 2000 with a little brew pub in downtown San Francisco, actually south of Market. So where the Giants play baseball right now, we're about 2.5 blocks away from us. But we were there about 2 years before the stadium actually got voted in and built.
Whoa,
that's awesome.
So it was kind of awesome. It was not awesome for that 2 years.
Oh yeah,
for that 2 years.
I didn't think about that 2 years.
For that 2 years, I mean, because it was a ghost town.
Yeah.
It was a ghost town, and you were never caught. You were not caught in that neighborhood at night. So it was pretty frequent, a regular occurrence for us to have a smash and grab in the middle of the night. People would smash windows out, run in, take the liquor, and split.
Right.
But now, the baseball stadium, we just had to make it to that. When the stadium opened, it changed the entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
So when that changed, that's when we really started getting our footings underneath us. People started coming to the neighborhood. We were the only craft brewery in the neighborhood. And quite honestly, in San Francisco, for about 4 years, there was only like 3 or 4 of us in all of San Francisco doing craft beer.
Yeah.
So it was pretty unique. And I think it had something to do with the real estate, the really ridiculous cost of real estate.
Right.
For sure.
So
breweries need space.
breweries need space, and space is expensive. So yeah, we rolled down there for, I want to say 8 years before we just kind of wanted to scratch a different itch, and that's when we started thinking about distribution. How do we take our beers and go out to the world with it? Well, Sean, our brewmaster, my business partner and brewmaster, went out to Colorado for GABF, and while he was out there, he went and checked out this little brewery called Oscar Blues. And so Nico and Sean, I wasn't a part of the picture at that point in time.
Just a little guys doing a little thing called canned beer.
Yes. And so at the time it was just Nico and Sean, and so Nico stayed back, run the pub, Sean goes off, has fun, which it's still much like that to this day. Sean usually runs off and has fun and leaves a little bit of the work for us, but he makes the delicious beers and the recipes, so he's allowed to do that.
Totally.
But he comes back and he's like, guys, he goes, I got this great fucking idea. He's like, we're not gonna open another pub right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make our beer and we're gonna sell it through distributors. And Nico's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, he goes, but no, that's not the best part. The best part is we're gonna can our beer. And Nico literally, to this day, he tells me, he goes, he looked right at Sean, he's like, that's the stupidest fucking idea I've ever heard. And that was like the end of it. And so Sean was like, no, Sean's a very passionate guy. And when he gets his teeth on something, he doesn't let go easily. He's like, no, Nico, you don't understand. You know, and he just starts talking about all the reasons why cans make sense. Okay, so you go back to this time, there was nobody in California actually canning their beers. So really at that time, it was there was a couple East Coast guys and really Oscar Blues. Like, that was it. And there was somebody in Portland, and it'll hit me as soon as we end this thing, you know, but it doesn't matter. So he ends up convincing Nico to actually buy a little two-head, we call it the milk machine, because literally it took 4 guys to basically, over the course of an 8 to 10 hour shift, you could get 60 cases of beer. And you just like, it was a 2-head filler, you put it up there, the next guy would take it, and you steam that bad boy up, you throw it actually in a trash can full of water to see if it had any leaks, and if it didn't leak, if it floated and stayed floated, that was a good can.
Whoa.
And that's, so that was how we knew that we had a good seam on it. I mean, it was, it was high-tech shit. But it also rinsed.
All the cellarmen get to take home the sunken beers out of the bottom out of the test trough.
And so we would do that and then sell it over the bar just to kind of basically see, is this a stupid idea or is this actually a brilliant idea? Every time we'd get done after, of course, you know, after a day of packaging, it would take less than 24 hours, and every drop of that beer was sold over the bar.
Wow.
So at that point, it was like, well, let's see if we can't kick this into high gear and do something different, more scale. No chance we were starting a brewery in San Francisco that was larger than the one that we had, which is our little 12-barrel system, which still runs to this day.
Yeah.
Started actually knocking on some doors for some people that maybe had some extra capacity in California. A lot of people were interested and were taking our calls. But the funny thing was, is they didn't like this. When we talked to them about the recipe and canning was a difficult thing. We actually purchased a faster machine, but never put it into use. We actually ended up selling it probably 7 years later. I think for more than we bought it for, because canning started to take off.
Yeah, nice.
But people were freaked out about us putting watermelon into the beer, and they didn't know what it was going to do to the system. Like, is it going to screw up my lines? Is it gonna? I don't know. What's it going to do?
Yeah.
It does nothing, because we actually use real fruit, and that's if we take anything away from this today, the one thing that Sean and Nico will never veer from is the blood orange brew free that we make, the watermelon wheat. We actually take fruit, we juice it, and then we add it into the brewing process. And you're not allowed to ask me at what point, because that's the only secret we have in our brewery. It's not even a really great secret. I mean, it's a great secret to us, but it doesn't take too much to figure out. But we have literally tried it hot side, middle side, cold side. We've tried it every part, and we found what we consider to be the sweet spot.
Nice.
But here we are, several years later, and we decided to go ahead and start reaching. Well, we got a lot of no's because of the watermelon beer from an ingredient standpoint. We came across this company in Cold Spring, Minnesota, and this was a brewery. It was a 100-year-old brewery, and they wanted to get serious about doing craft again. And so we called them up, and they're like, hey, so we're out of California. They had a high-speed canning line. We had some recipes. We had a desire to brew on a larger scale. And we're like, well, this is, we're like, what do you guys think? Is this something that you guys are interested in? And they're like, oh, sure. Yeah, that sounds great. We're like, okay, well, hey, let me talk to you about our beers. We have this watermelon beer, and we actually take watermelons, and we actually dump the juice into the brewing process. Are you cool with that? Oh, sure. We can figure that out. We're like, oh, yeah. All right, sweet. All right. Well, we also, and Sean just started throwing like all the crazy ingredients that we do with the different beers. Yeah. And it was met with like this really warm Midwestern hug. Yeah. Like, oh, sure. Yeah, we got this. Yeah. So we're like, fuck it, man. Let's do this. I mean, let's do this. So, 100-year-old brewery. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, because we went into this 100-year-old brewery not knowing some of the challenges that we were going to have. It ended up being, and back then, we called it partner brewing, but it was like the C word, contract brewing.
Yeah.
It was not cool. It was not cool at all. But we did it. We brought the beers back to California, and we just started selling. We started with 2 beers and 2 beers only. Brew Free or Die IPA and the watermelon wheat. And no draft. We were gonna, not only were we gonna bring cans to the state of California, but we weren't gonna do draft beer. Everybody else is doing draft beer. we'll sell our cans in the on-premise, and people will love this because we'll be the only ones offering that up.
Yeah.
Now that was a stupid fucking idea. That lasted for about 2 months.
Yeah.
And you can walk in and they're like, well, if you could just give me a keg of it, I would bring it on. We're like, all right. So we switched over to draft pretty quick. The other thing that was not really fully thought out was watermelon wheat. It's going to be a year-round beer because who doesn't love watermelons, and we'll sell it year-round.
Yeah.
This beer is like a workhorse for 7 months out of the year. But then when watermelon season's done, basically at the end, very end of summer in the hot season, it goes away. People want to switch gears and do something else.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The winter beers, the heavier beers, the richer beers. So what we did is we had year one, this was a year-round beer. Year two, it turned into a season.
Yeah.
And that's when we actually launched Fireside Chat, and then we came out with another beer called Sneak Attack
Well,
Saison.
if you're using the fresh fruit, you need the fruit to be in season 2 for
Yeah.
the beer. I see how that all makes sense. It's funny that you said what you were saying about the origins of 21st Amendment, because I couldn't help but see a lot of the connections to what we're doing here at Brain Dead. We are in a neighborhood of Deep Ellum that has lately, 5 years ago when we opened, 4.5 when we opened, but 5 years ago when we were getting open, we, there wasn't a whole lot going on down here. It was, there was like art galleries, tattoo shops, and like metal and punk bars, and that was like the neighborhood,
Okay.
And about 5 years ago, we signed our lease around the same time that Pecan Lodge, actually the same day that Pecan Lodge did, right down the street, famous barbecue. And things kind of blew up for us in this neighborhood, and in the last year or so, maybe 2 years, they've started these giant construction projects around us. The Epic, our partners, Central Track, that help us with the video production of Growlersations, their office is right across from this 20-story building that's being built. And I'm going over there sometimes, and there's just steel I-beams floating around on hang, and you feel like you should be wearing a hard hat, going over to their office. And so I kind of connect with the building of the stadium, but then also on that other level, we've been having, crime has been coming with all of that construction, and lots of opportunity on construction sites for criminals to do things like that. And as a neighborhood growing up, there's a lot of people that want to hang out and catch people slipping, as they say. And so, this neighborhood has kind of gotten into that kind of crimey sort of rut of the beginning of the popularity movement, but like you said, when the stadium opened, it was the critical mass that needed to flush all that out, and I can't help but feel that's what the next year has in store for us down here. Is there's concerns of smash and grabs and things like that, but what's getting ready to happen is all these 5,000 person concert venues and 3 tower things. One's an office tower, one's a residential tower, one's a hotel tower. You just can't go the other way from that.
No, you can't.
As I like to say, it feels good for me making the same bet that Big Money is so obviously making, because Big Money doesn't mess up. They don't gamble. They just make money.
There you go.
So it's nice seeing the Big Money around, because I know that that's going to do things for us and the neighborhood as a whole. I'm a neighborhood guy. I love Deep Ellum. I love the edginess of the neighborhood. That's part of what brought us down here in the first place. But honestly, it's the growth of the neighborhood that is going to spur the, police resistance and the safety and the things like that the neighborhood needs. So it's kind of funny being on both sides of that. I'm a businessman. I'm a neighborhood guy. I want all of the things all at once. And so it's really nice to hear that perspective from you. And then the stadium thing, we never looked back, and it was awesome, and thinking that could be what our story is like in 5 or 10
I'm sure
years.
it will. Yeah. First off, mean people suck.
Also
And
true.
I don't think any of us will ever fully get away from people that just look for ridiculous opportunities like smash and grabs and stuff. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's absolutely, our neighborhood is nothing like that now. Because what you do is you do get just so much more activity. There's just less opportunity for that kind of stuff. You get people that are going to live in the area, and they're going to be walking up and down the sidewalks. And it was just a ghost town at night. When the lights went off, and street lights came on in our area before the ballpark, that was when you just didn't want to be around. But
We
now,
had to ask them to start turning the streetlights on Main Street when we opened because there was nothing on Main Street that was open past 6 o'clock. Tattoo shops didn't care, so they were never asking for the lights.
right.
But we had to actually contact the city and work with the landlord to get them to start flipping the switches on the streetlights down there. So
Well, and so here we are. We started in 2000. We're in 2019.
on Main Street, not Elm Street, to clarify.
So here we are 19 years later. And 19 years ago we opened. 2 years after that, the baseball stadium came in. Not hotels, but condos and whatnot. A lot of business comes in. Well, here we are 19 years later, and the neighborhood is still changing vastly. So you're in for probably a long haul too, because less than a mile away, the Golden State Warriors are now building an arena there, and that opens this year. So
Got
now,
15 years left on our lease, so
there you go.
Funny if Dallas would do something like that, right?
Cuban's talking about it. He's talking about moving out of the AAC and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
no,
he wants
to build his stadium where community is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He build his own
Well,
basketball
I thought it was
stadium
just somewhere
for the
in the
Mavs.
design district.
My
Like,
understanding
next
is
to-
that he was going to be like there.
wow.
And that would be the Mavs stadium that he would own. And it wouldn't be across the street from AAC.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, and that's what these guys are doing too. I mean, now they're building these arenas. They're actually bringing a community with them, like the new arena where the Warriors are going to play. It's insane because they're literally building a community that's already within. It's like one infrastructure. And so when it's done being built, you're like, oh shit. When they actually turn the switch on, there's like restaurants and bars and salons and there's an arena, concert venue.
Yeah.
It's like they take up several city blocks and turn them into a new community that's already basically nestled into a community.
Yeah, it's
that's
a
been
neighborhood.
growing.
Striking while the iron's hot.
yeah.
The Warriors too. I mean, I'm sure if it was the Browns, like, hey, we're doing a new stadium, like, cool, good for you guys. Whereas the Warriors, like, fuck yeah, let's do this, man. 5 straight finals appearances. Yeah, that's perfect time to open a new stadium. It was like, yeah, we want to get in on this. Whereas, anyone else, if it was just, it's, I don't know, the King, the Sacramento, it's like, we're going down the street. You're like, who fucking cares?
Or us, where we have a baseball
What up,
stadium.
lottery pick? I don't give a shit what you do.
I like walking out of the Ranger Stadium and seeing the new stadium that they're building. Why are we doing this?
I hate that.
So, 21st Amendment has a funny connection to our origin story
Let's cheers
here.
before we get to the end.
Oh, we never,
Oh, yeah.
cheers. We
Cheers,
just
man.
dove right in.
It's hot. Watermelon beer sounds good. And it is.
Dude, it's just
Yeah, I ran 2.5 miles in the heat, and I got done. I was like, I'm gonna drink some beer. I was so pumped to slam 2 growlers of beer when I got here. So, 21st Amendment has a funny connection, not a huge connection to our origin story, but definitely part of the story nonetheless. Jeff, Drew, and I bought our brew house in Healdsburg from, I think, was it Pub Systems or Stainless Assets? They were
Yeah.
Pub Systems, and then they were Stainless Assets.
something like that.
I think that was the name of the company. Anyways, 15-barrel brew house out of Healdsburg, and we obviously, and this was 5.5 years ago. So it was right at the time that like brewing was real hot. Getting the brewing systems was more. It was the same price for a used system as it was for a new system, but you got a used system now. Now you can actually go buy a brew house at a good price because things are shutting down. But we went up there to, kick the tires and check the seams and crawl around in our equipment before we stroked a couple $100,000 deposit for,
It's always scary,
for
right?
a system to do. And I loved it.
By the way,
'cause-
those chucks don't get any smaller.
Oh, I can't. I don't doubt that one bit. Jeff and I, when we opened Brain Dead, our real goal was for it to be like, Brain Dead was just going to kind of be our thing. We were going to make food and we were going to make beer and we were going to do all those things. And we kind of got lucky, to be honest. Word got out that we were opening up, and everybody, badass brewers and badass chefs, were like, "Hey, we want to work for you. You guys are restaurant people. We want to work for restaurant people that we'll mop the floor if the ketchup spills, and that's who we are." So we had a badass named Drew Herder who brewed at Schlafly and brewed for 10 years before he even thought about joining up with us. And all of a sudden, what we wanted to do as being a small thing, we had a real brewer that knew how to run all the big equipment. And so our scale shifted really drastically when he joined. And so we went up there and we kicked the tires on the system he was crawling around. And then we decided that we were going to drive from Healdsburg down to San Diego and go see as many breweries as we could over the course of that week. And 21st Amendment was one of the first places that we went in San Francisco, leaving Healdsburg. And I remember Jeff and I were sitting there with notes, writing, this is awesome and this is awesome, and the food was great, and the servers walked up with the little type-in tablets, and the
tablet thing was crucial.
And even still to this day, the service being really clean and good, but also comfortable, because Jeff and I aren't wipe our ass for us kind of table people.
Yeah.
And she was able to be cool and vibey and chill with us, while also providing really professional service and thorough. And we asked about the tablets, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I like them." Nice. And she told us about the point of sale system, and was totally a cool cat. We had a really awesome experience, our one day at 21st Amendment. So,
that's great.
Yeah. Coming full circle. Now the president's in our brewery.
And thank you for this, because in your brewery, drinking our beers.
Oh, dude, it's great, man.
Damn straight.
The nose really on that thing is insane.
I'm actually really happy with this.
So the first beer we had was the To Hell or High Watermelon, and this is Brew Free or Die. So that connects back to that origin story you were saying in the beginning, where it was the repeal of Prohibition.
Yeah, we had to pour the cans into the growler.
Yeah, it's funny. We have a little bit of an identity crisis, because we call both of these our flagships.
Yeah.
One's our flagship.
That's
because,
awesome, though.
Well, and we agree, but people they look at us like we're just, well, we are blithering idiots sometimes, most of the times. But
and that's why we like you.
And by the way, I'm actually going to calm down now. As I was explaining to them earlier, first time being on camera, and I just caught myself talking really fast and not breathing. So now I'm actually going to relax a little bit.
Growler 2 goes a little easier.
I'm pretty sure my story, people that are listening are like, so he went from here to here, back over to here, and then back over to here. But anyways.
I'm going to show you a little behind the curtain. My job as the guy running this is to keep you talking. This isn't my show for people to log in and let's hear what Sam has to say for an hour. It's Jeff and I are interviewing you in a very casual, relaxing way. So
I'm more Egg McMahon.
You being willing to talk.
Perfect.
It's I'll take it. And then we've got... So I appreciate it. Don't feel like you're messing up. You're doing great. You're making my job easy. I just shut up and drink and listen.
Perfect.
That's a good way to do it.
But yeah, having the two flagships.
You look good, dude.
Brew Free.
He's the Paul Schaefer. He's Paul Schaefer.
Oh, hey.
I wear my sunglasses.
Yeah. And you can tell. So all I hear, he sits there and he throws our Sacramento Kings right under the bus. I'm like, I can't believe he just did that, but I'm going to let it slide, because maybe everybody else let it slide.
That's the last time he won anything.
Yeah, but
he goes for the easy grab with trashing Cleveland.
So for you California,
they shut the city down 3 weeks ago.
He's not from California, so yeah. Bagging on our... Hey, Sacramento's coming on strong.
Well,
that's actually Townsville.
We're also Dallas people, and Kings in Dallas. I haven't watched a lot of basketball in the last 5 years, I'll be honest, but for the 10 years prior to that, it was Kings in Dallas like this every time.
Yeah.
So
they're more like Poppers now.
Yeah. They're like what?
Isn't that the Kings and Poppers? Aren't they like the? Maybe not.
I don't know.
Like the people who don't have any money, poor people.
This is the most sports talk I've had in the last year.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah. Two flagships,
Popper,
super big volume, but Brew Free or Die, again, big volume brand for us, but the whole Brew Free or Die, it's our kind of company mantra.
Totally.
Where it's just, God damn it, if we're gonna do this, do it right.
Yeah.
Brew Free or Die, or die trying.
Yeah.
So this is really kind of fun, because it's just kind of captures our spirit and our attitude and what we're all about.
Yeah.
We take beer seriously, but we try to take ourselves too seriously. So hopefully that comes through in our packaging and our beers.
You have to represent yourself as being a legit thing. You know, your packaging has always been really distinct, and through all the years has stayed distinct. And in a time where like branding on shelves is starting to homogenize, and the crafty people have started to be like, hey, we're not the cool independent guy anymore. We need to be stepping up to the big boys and do the clean branding and all the simple everything, you know. It's like I love Avery. Avery's like last shift in their thing was a very like, you know, like corporate, clean, bigger branding thing and all the kind of ornate stuff. Yeah. Y'all's like, you know, I can't remember which one has like Mount Rushmore on it. And there's like art and writings. Yeah, there you go. But it's like there's a story being told by that package, and that's always kind of been what craft is like for me, because 10 years ago, you know, the best thing you could do was log into Beer Advocate or Rate Beer and check some scores, you know? It's like now there's just a billion apps, and there's, you know, people that have Instagram accounts that are just taking pictures of beers all the time, and it's cool to see that there is, you know, the old school branding telling the story of the brewery still happening, where I can pick up that can and like look at it and find out what you guys are about, instead of reaching for my phone and checking Untapped and like having to look my information up there. And it used to be such an experience at the beer store of like, this, and now it's more of like, I'm gonna sit there at my phone at the beer store and find out what I'm gonna get. And I love how your packaging is still with that, where you can kind of see the story of your brewery on your can, instead of it just being like nutrition information, 21st Amendment, drink it.
Right. The name kind of sets the mood, right?
I think so, and you know what? We're storytellers. Yeah. I mean, Sean, Nico, everybody at our place, we all love the industry. We all love beer, and the 21st Amendment gave us the kind of the permission to actually go and find this theme, which is American iconographic imagery. Yeah. And we think and we're probably wrong, but what we think is that our branding has actually stood the test of time, because all the things that we're putting on there are iconographic American images that have already stood the test of time. Yeah. So the Lady Liberty, the Golden Gate Bridge, Mount Rushmore, the signs for blah 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 with the whole marching and we want beer thing. Like those are images that it's already stood the test of time. We've just taken and put in our little twist. So, you know, you got Abe breaking free with some attitude. You've got Lady Liberty who said, you know what, I'm going to go stick my feet in the bay in San Francisco and just relax for a second. And so what we're hoping is that we've captured the 21st Amendment and what that means, but with a little bit of our personality and attitude. And we just love telling stories. And so we put the story, and there was a period of time where we actually thought about taking the stories off the boxes because it didn't fit real well, and we couldn't do it. We're like, it feels so bad to do that we just like, no, put the story on there.
I love the decision that you made. We are not necessarily the authorities on branding and marketing.
Nor are we.
You know, we like to have a good time, and so I certainly, I'm not saying that you necessarily made the right decision, because I don't know, but I love the decision that you made, and that's one of the things that always draws me to your package, and still to this day.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. Jeff is very drawn to your package.
Oh, that's your hand on the table. Got it.
And you know, it's like,
got those long arms.
I don't know. I feel like even to this day, you know, 21st Amendment in my brain has classically been a not available in Texas brewery. It's only been recent that you guys are around. In my 15-year-old beer history, I used to work at Flying Saucer for a long time. You familiar with Flying Saucer?
Absolutely.
So I remember that shift of like cans being weird, and like at the Saucer when breweries started showing up and be like, we've got beer in cans. It was like, how am I supposed to tell a beer nerd that they want
to taste
to
like
put
metal,
down the
bro.
glass?
No one wants it to taste like metal.
But 21st Amendment beers, there's just a very specific memory of me of like, every time I traveled, is like, you know, finding one on the shelf and like looking at it and trying to find out. And, you know, a lot of times they ended up in my fridge in my hotel, you know, so good
awesome.
work, and thanks for being a part of my beer story.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
So coming, the next seasonal we have is our Tasty IPA. And I haven't told Dave this, but I tell it to everybody that I talk to about, like, once watermelon goes away and we bring in Tasty IPA, Tasty IPA is my favorite packaging of any beer. Salesman hat off. It's my favorite packaging of any beer ever because it's a topless Ben Franklin, American Beauty style on a bed of hops.
Oh, yeah.
It is gorgeous.
That's great.
It hits like so many right. Like it seems like it's wrong, but it's not wrong because you have the hops conveniently covering nipples, and he's just I'm sure if he was moving, it'd be a little bit like this, and the hops would just come billowing out. And I'm all about that.
That's awesome.
I really love it. I can't wait for you guys to see. It'll be out in a few months here, but it's really great packaging.
Will you come pose for a Silence of the Lambs Buffalo Bill label for us?
Are you kidding me with this thing? No one's
Oh, no,
gonna
you keep
believe.
that.
No one is going to believe anything with this.
I'd believe it.
I'd fuck me.
You're like, I'm not. I make a terrible. I make a not good-looking man, but like I am an ugly woman, a very, very ugly woman. And now we're stopping on that one.
Wait.
Right.
And the funny thing about that package too, like we said, we had to have fun with the packaging. That beer started off, so Mike McDowell, Tasty, really amazing home brewer, friend of the brewery, friend of the BN network. Him and Sean have known each other forever. They go way back. They want to do a collaboration together. So Tasty came in and he helped us build this beer. So it was a huge hit. We did it in the Insurrection series. It's like our one-off, limited amount of beer, right? It goes out, people go crazy because you can only get so much, and then it's gone. Well, people went so crazy.
Insurrection series is the high end.
Exactly. So we did this, and people, when it went away, people were like literally like kicking down the doors, going, "This is ridiculous." That was an amazing beer. We want more of it. So we talked with Tasty, and we were like, "Hey, what do you think if we took this and actually added it into our seasonal lineup?" But in doing so, we didn't want to lose our American iconographic imagery theme. So we started doing some research, and we realized that Ben Franklin is actually, or I should say, Tasty is either Ben Franklin's spirit animal or vice versa. I don't know how that works, because Ben Franklin was a home brewer, an avid home brewer, and then he believed in air baths. He was a nudist.
I didn't know that.
And none of us do this until we started doing the packaging, and our designer that does all of our packaging, he's like,
what was that?
Yeah, he's like, guys, this is a no-brainer. He goes, I was doing research on Ben Franklin.
The history checks out.
He goes, first off, he's a home brewer. Mike's a home brewer. He goes, secondly, the dude thought that being naked was good for the soul, which it is.
I mean, we're going to steal Airbath as a beer name, so sorry.
Done. And so we're like, well, this is a no-brainer. But here's the best part. So Tasty's son does all the little sketches of Mike, of Tasty.
Yeah.
And so we actually had him do he worked with our artist, or with Ben, who does all of our stuff, to create the package. Okay, we get done, and there's a little cartoon dude that's super cute, and he's naked, fully naked in this sea of hops, right? Okay, that was great. It was really. I'm going to use the word cute more than I probably should, but it was really cute and not disturbing.
Keep tally.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we want to bring Ben Franklin in, and we actually get our artist that does all of our art for our main line. He draws a Ben Franklin out, and we keep him completely naked. We just want Ben Franklin where Tasty was. First drawing comes by, we're like, I don't know, something's wrong with it. Like, his hair's like a little creepy, and work with his facial expression or something. Something's wrong. And they work on it, and they work on it. They come back like 5 times with like different things. And we just kept looking at it, we're like, something's wrong with that picture. And finally, I think it was Sean's like, can we just put some pants on him? And actually, I think what it was is Nico said, well, because he thought it'd be funny to just put socks on him.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, you just put socks on him. And then Sean's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe we put the period socks with the pants.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because people will realize the era and realize it's Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
And we'll lose some of that weirdness that's going on.
I know those long socks would be sweet though.
Oh, dude, but as soon as they came back with him in pants, we're like, done.
Yeah.
It's not weird anymore.
Got it.
So that's how we put pants on Ben Franklin.
where I would
Fair enough.
It's another beer name right there. Put pants on Ben Franklin.
God, we're just coming up with it. And that's the hardest thing to do in this business these days. Come up with a name for a beer, and we just did 2 of them.
You know, as you can tell by our names, Texas has funny laws, as you know, but one of the things that makes Texas a funny law state is that we as a brew pub are legally different than a brewery.
Okay.
And we're considered a bar in the eyes of the state.
Okay.
And because, so 5 years ago, breweries couldn't sell a beer by the glass to you. And 5 years ago, the thing that we did as Dallasites to go to breweries and enjoy that was the breweries bought glasses, sold them to us for $15, and then we had a tour. And that tour meant that we could have 3 or 4 beers filled up in our new $15 glass that we just bought. So we bought glassware, and the brewery parties were great because they were all open bar. It was like every single one was just like, yeah, I paid my $15. Where's the beer at? You know, like it was a really cool thing. And honestly, I love the freedom and the good things that have happened for the Dallas breweries, but I really miss those old school parties. I think there needs to be a brewery that needs to do it old school. And it's like, you know, once a month or every quarter or something, they do it old school style. It's like $15 cover. We're selling glassware today.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that at our brewery. We'll just call it Texas style.
Hey, I love it.
And we'll sell a glass, and you get 3 beers, and you get a tour.
Man, we'll
call it the Texas style tour.
It was a cool way to like go about the whole thing. So the whole laws have all changed very drastically for us in a lot of ways, and we are a bar and not a brewery.
Okay.
And the breweries, you know, fortunately for the scene, have started kicking those doors down. They used to not be able to sell beer to go. Now they can open tasting rooms and sell beer by the glass. They used to not be able to sell a can of beer for you to take sealed and go home. And that's still illegal until September 1st.
Okay.
So
Nice. Good for you guys. That's
yeah,
great.
and so those changes have happened. Brew pubs, which is what we are, have always been the like retail thing, and that's what we've got. That's what we've got going, and so it's a fun deal. But September 1, things change for real in this state, and beer to go starts being a thing, and everything changes.
I thought the train you were on was that we can name our beers.
Thank you. I
anything.
forgot what train I was on. I forgot what train I was on.
Because we're a brew pub.
Good job, though.
Thank you.
Well,
That's
it's
my
like, where's
guy.
the
That's
guy?
my guy right there.
Because I was like, say fuck somewhere there. That's what we're allowed to call it, anything we want, because we don't have to go through TABC or anything to put it on the wall. You know, so we haven't had a fuck yet, but maybe soon. You know.
Yeah, if we don't have to
There you go.
license,
Fuck is
beer,
Daisy?
sell
We
it
haven't had a
here.
fuck yet.
Don't
Like,
enter
that's a
into
great
the
name.
distribution.
No, like, who the
by
fuck is
whatever
Daisy
happened to
Gamabu?
So a lot of times we have crazy names for stuff that would never make sense
Hateful
or
Eight.
pass
It's good.
inspection.
Right.
Because if we don't plan to sell it into distribution and
You're
sell
okay.
it into the cycle, and we just sell it here, we can do whatever we want. So it's kind of a cool, weird little benefit to
Right.
all the like hyper locked down Texas aspects, but you know, it's fun. So we name beers like all kinds of stuff. One of our most recent is today's special. That was you know, it's like, why not? You know, let's just call it whatever the hell we want. So we've got Pink Floyd albums back there. We've got all kinds of stuff.
Naming beers, it is as hard as making amazing beer, because there's 7,000 breweries. Every brewery's got 40 recipes, 50, 60 recipes,
Yeah.
and you've dropped a name on every one of those.
Yeah.
And most of those have been sold outside of it and trademarked in some way, shape, or form. That is literally like Sean, amazing brewmaster, and he can work with our team and make beers faster than we can actually create names
Yeah.
for them. And especially we've blocked ourselves in because we try to be this American iconographic image, you know.
Yeah.
So
You got a theme that you gotta stick
not
with.
only is it hard, but then we've blocked ourselves in it. It actually has to kind of make sense too. So, I mean, we'll go.
I see what you're saying.
We'll go months.
Just name it blank with vanilla. Just can you do that? Just make the same beers. It's cool that he doesn't do that and forces you to do the other.
Well, so we're fortunate. So we've got our new facility in San Leandro. We've been in there for 4 years now,
Yeah.
which is where every drop of beer from Texas comes
So
from.
what
It
did you
comes
go
from-
up in barrelage when you went from the other?
So we went from 0 to 100, or I'm sorry, we went from 0 to like 85,000 barrels
Jesus.
doing our beer through Cold Spring, Minnesota. So when we built our place out, we got to basically open the doors and start the machine with 85,000 barrels worth of capacity to fill it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now we'll be at about 120,000 barrels of annual capacity. And we've got about, right now, the only thing blocking us from going up to, I think it's like 390 or something like that, 1,000 barrels, is our cellar space. So our canning line, our racking system, the brew house, that's all ready. Infrastructure as far as the water, the power, all that stuff, it's all in place. Now it's just adding cellars, fermenters. We add tanks and some bright beer, maybe 2 more bright beer tanks and then a bunch of fermenters, and we can just let it rip. So it's kind of it's an exciting time for us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but boy, everything gets more expensive.
I don't doubt that one.
Everything
bit.
gets more expensive.
You know,
but-
we our kind of quest where we are at in our timeline of growth as a brewery is we opened 4.5 years ago, and when we opened, it was really funny. You know, you open a brew pub and you start with everybody else's beers on tap because it's like you get the permits to open the doors and you have to start brewing beer then. So it took us like 2 months to actually start having beer on tap here. It was hilarious. Our Yelp reviews like, they're a fake brewery. They don't even have any beer that they make like opening week. It's like, guys, give us like a minute.
Right.
For
Take a
real.
deep breath. Yeah. It's
Fuck
all
this
right.
place. They were angry. I was like, guys,
Hey, I'm a nice
They
guy.
are pretending. It's like, ask around. We're not.
we saw the
pretending.
brewery in there. These guys are fucking
It's
posers.
pretending.
Yeah, we bought.
It's just for
we
show.
bought that whole thing back there for just to fool you. Got your ass. We don't have any of our own beer.
So year one, we built our way up to 5 of our own beers on tap. We had 30 guest beers. Year 2, it was 15. Year 3, it's 20. And we've slowly gotten to where we're now what I would consider a proper brew pub that has their whole tap wall full of their own beers. And we love featuring guest breweries, and we are happy to call those the secret taps, where we
nice,
put
okay.
cool things on of beers that we appreciate and like, and they stay featured, which is kind of a cool little thing too. And Jeff and I come from the retail side of things, so we love getting to mingle with brewers, and it's not always that like brewers have to like so wholeheartedly support each other. And that's what I love about this weird niche of the beer world that we're in, is we get to be a brewery, we get to make our own beer, but we also get to welcome other breweries in, feature them, and like celebrate beer as a whole. And it doesn't have to always be about us. But we finally got to be where we made it all about us.
Right, which is, as you
Filled our tap wall up, and it's we're right at that shift where you were talking about when it started being like we're focusing on distribution now, and right now is that change in our brewery life where it's like, okay, we've filled up the beers that we make for selling by the glass. Now it's time to go and get out there and get into other bars and places like Common Tables and Good Friends and Flying Saucers and Meddlesome Moths, and get out there and sell beer and do that other side of the brewery thing. So we're constantly evolving, and the opportunity to talk to somebody who's gone through all those things already is super awesome for us. So thanks for taking your time to come hang today.
Well, thank you for having me out here. I'm going to tell you right now, the scariest thing is actually having our beer this far away from home. But this is,
This is super fresh.
I'm super pumped about how this is drinking right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that, because that you'll find as it gets further and further away from home, you have to work harder and harder and harder, because I mean, that ain't a short drive, and it's not cheap to keep things cold and keep things fresh, and it's hard. I mean, we're trying right now at the brewery to push things out that are less than a week old, because quite honestly, we chew up a week on the road, and then we chew up another week at a distributorship. And so, like, if we can't get stuff to leave our warehouse within the first week, by the time it gets to you, it's 3 weeks old, and that's not what we're all about. We're all about trying to keep it super fresh and super good. So when this hit my lips, I was like, oh shit.
No, that's when
that's the
you
real
guys
deal
were talking,
right
I fucking hit my nose, and that's why I went to him, because I was like, Jesus Christ! But like, you guys drove it in your, took it in your plane.
Yeah.
That beer is fresh as fuck, dude.
But it's Pacific.
Yeah.
Drove it all the way from the Pacific.
Special one. but it was wrapped in
Ollie, we need you to go to San Francisco.
wrapped in cold towels and ice the whole time.
We talk to it at night. Like it's gonna be all right. You're going to a great place.
Yeah.
So when I was working at the Saucer, which is crazy, this was like 7 years ago now, but I remember when Pilsner Urquell, the Pilsner Urquell people showed up at the Flying Saucer office and was like, we started shipping Pilsner Urquell cold all the way from the Czech Republic, and they had a cooler and they pulled out a bottle of Pilsner Urquell, which we've all had 1,000 of, pulled out a bottle of Pilsner Urquell and handed it to me and this has been cold the whole time.
Oh, man.
And I just remember being like, get out of here, popped it open and drank
That's
the beer
awesome.
at my desk, it got couriered in.
That's awesome. Well, we do this thing called Freshie Fridays now.
Yeah.
And so we actually we let people come in and actually
I'm
drink
just
right
gonna go
off the
fill
price.
this up. We
Nice.
still got 15 minutes, right? I'm gonna go fill this up with more of their color. I mean,
The brew free.
Yeah.
Whatever you
So
want.
you guys keep talking, then I'll go do that. All right. Cool, Anton? Or no?
Either way, I'm gonna drink it.
But yeah, so we started inviting people in because they, we're so used to drinking off the bright beer tanks.
Yeah.
It was literally 2 weeks ago we did our first
bragging.
Freshie Friday. And we let people we just did we walked into the tap room and we're like, anybody that wants to drink beer, the freshest beer you could ever have, get up to the bar, get a ticket, and let's go. And we let them go back to the cellar and actually put the pigtail on
Oh, yeah?
500 barrel tank.
There's a brewer with sitting there just misting this.
And tell them, don't touch that. Hey, but welcome. No, come on in, don't touch that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it just, you watch people just freak out because, look, a 500 barrel bright tank is a 500 barrel can. It's the freshest beer you could possibly have.
So we've got our 2 tanks out here. We were told by a handful of people that we were crazy to think that we could take a jacketed Sprite like that and turn it into a serving tank and straight serve off of it. But we've got the regular beer faucet.
Oh.
And we took a real long shank in there and just packed it, instead of having the pigtail like
Yep.
you would have in the brewery, we packed a whole bunch of wire mesh in there to create
out.
that restriction.
Okay.
And so there's a long shank that goes back into the middle of that tank, so 2 feet back into the liquid, and it's just got all this wire mesh that creates the restriction to change that into the equivalent of a keg, where we get to just pour some beers and make it happen.
Well, then I hope people actually understand that that's as good as it gets.
I don't. I don't think anybody has any idea that that's a super cool, very rare
safe.
thing.
Yeah, because that's
might
amazing,
sober
and
up there
that's a lot of fun.
Well, whenever we get to that amount, then I'm like, all right, we're about to end here, but they're...
Yeah, I was about to do my little wrap-up spiel, and then Jeff goes and gets another growler beer. So you don't mind, do you?
I don't think so. You guys were deep in,
I will
I
sit
was
here
just
for
gonna go
as long
sneak
as
out.
you think I'm interesting.
Well, honestly, I was kind of a little worried because Ollie told me that you had a thing that you were running off to, an event over in the mid-cities right after this, and I was just like, man, I hope he knows what he's getting himself into, because Growlersations is Growlersations.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're gonna sit down and we're gonna drink some beer, and you never know what you are gonna get when you hear the president of some company is showing up. It's like I don't know.
I didn't know what you were gonna get.
See a beer dude, or what's going on here?
Yeah.
That was on me.
Pour a little bit in the mouth.
Look at Mama's like, stop it! Not again! Not again!
I love his we have 21A onesies, which are awesome for. I can show that my kid is also a future be a drunk.
So, Dave, yes, tell us about the rest of your trip in Dallas. I like to clarify, we love celebrating other retail people and other everything. So, brag on people that you're doing stuff with.
So I'm going to go backwards a little bit, and then Ollie's going to have to, because I'm not as familiar with all the accounts, but I love going in and talking to people about beer and about what's going on. But I'm going to go back a little bit. We're distributed by Benny Keith. I've known Kevin Bartholomew for, I think, I'm going to go back 16 or 17 years.
Whoa.
We've been talking about, so Kevin and I, it's kind of funny because I made a joke when we launched. I was doing a general sales meeting and we were kicking it off, and Kevin was in the crowd. We had a bunch of the sales reps out there, and I told the team, I go, Kevin and I, we both have sons that are about the same age. My youngest son and his son are about the same age. And we literally started talking about bringing beer to Texas when our kids were just going into high school. And we actually brought beer into Texas when both of our kids graduated from college.
Yeah.
Hey, right
So
on.
we talked about bringing beer into the state of Texas for like 8 or 9 years. And every, like 3 or 4 times a year, we'd call each other up, check in, how are things going? Quite honestly, if we were talking for 30 minutes, 25 of it was about our families and what's going on, and 5 of it was about, so how's it going? What are you guys thinking? And my answer was like, Texas is on the short list. It's on the short list. It's on the short list. Very patient, and he was just got it. I just wanted to circle back with you, and then we'd talk 3-4 months later. So here we are today, and we kick this thing off. We kick off distribution in Texas 60 days ago, right around
almost,
there.
Yeah, almost.
So just short of 60 days ago, and I challenged one of the guys. I mean, when you kick off a new state, everybody's excited, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
especially Texas, which is like 3 of the biggest top 10 cities in the country.
oh
you know?
yeah,
It's like,
and everybody's pumped
what's
for a
gonna
new
happen?
beer. Like, what's the flavors? What are these people all about? What's the brand like? So there's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, and the Benny Keith guys did an amazing job with that. I was out with Joel, one of the managers, up in the Fort Worth.
No, like the Grapevine, South Lake area.
Super cool guy, and beer guys like beer guys, right? And I like this beer guy. He was a cool guy, and you could tell that he actually like he liked beer, because everywhere he went, he had like beer stories, and beer guys also know real beer guys from their beer stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? And we got like 3/4 of the way through our day, and I said, look, I'm gonna challenge you. There's always so much excitement around this, and people, I mean, we had a team of people, an army of people in here to kick things off, and all these great events. I was like, but here's the thing, 60 days later, and we're at fault here too, we typically get so busy with all the stuff that goes behind the scenes of making beer, selling beer, and keeping a business going, that we never come back and actually re-engage, and that's bad on us. But then a lot of times our distributors or our sales folks don't actually ask us to come back because they get busy selling all the different brands that they have. I said, so here's my challenge to you, Joel. I was like, if you call me back and if I can make a difference, if you can set up a day to 2 days where I can make a difference and we can go out and make some good calls and shake some hands, kiss some babies, and sell some beer.
Quite literally.
Exactly. I go, then all you got to do is send me an email and I will be on the next flight. Nobody's ever taken me up on that offer. The reason why I'm here is because it was about 45 days later.
Nice.
I got an email. He's like,
I love that.
so I'm emailing you.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to come back.
Yeah.
When can you be
let's
here?
Keep it fresh.
And I was like, I was like, I can't say no.
Yeah.
Literally, like one of the busiest weeks of my life is going on this week, and I'm like, peace out, guys.
He called me.
Because this
He
guy
called me on it.
because they called me because they wanted to go out and actually do what we're all supposed to do.
Yeah.
Connect, sell beer, tell stories, and make friends.
Yeah.
So that's my version of why am I here.
I love that.
I'm here because they actually called me back and asked me to come back and go out and sell some beer. And we had a killer day yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were,
Great day.
I mean, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Actually, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a 5 o'clock flight, got landed at 11. By 12:30, we were selling beer. We rolled until about 10 o'clock last night, and then got up at 4 o'clock this morning, 5 o'clock this morning to get up to a general sales meeting up in Frisco, to then go talk to all of the sales managers about their territory and what we can do to do better. So this is a passion play.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of jobs where you're out till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and then you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're fucking excited to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to do it. Because if I didn't do this, I'd be getting up that early and staying up that late, sitting at my desk, running a business and doing the things that we all have to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
So there's my version of, I'm a long-winded kind of guy.
Oh, welcome to Growlersations. we filmed for an hour drinking as much beer as we can squeeze into an hour.
This
so.
is literally the most fun part of what we do, though. And I called Nico this morning. I called him, and he's like, how's it going? And the only thing I could say, I was like, you know what? This is energy giving. like so much of what we do is the grind. But it's like getting out of the office and seeing people and doing this. I'm like, it's energy giving. I go, dude, I am charging my batteries.
Yeah.
And I go, and I'm excited to get back and just like kind of share that with the team that grinds every day.
Yeah.
But so I didn't name one account or where I've been because
It kind of reminds you why you love doing this.
oh,
you know?
dude, it's a total reminder.
That's kind of like what like beer dinners and festivals are like for us. You know, it's like we have a thing that's always going. We are kind of unique in the brewery world because we're a brew pub, so we've got as much of the kitchen stuff going on as the beer stuff going on, and then on top of that, we've got like a vegan bakery here. So like the vegan bakers get here at 5 o'clock in the morning. The brewers are showing up at 7. Like there's always something happening, and our phones ring at 5:15 in the morning. Hey, Baker just got here, and there's like a real creepy dude sleeping in front of the door. You know, and it's like, okay, you know, better answer that phone call kind of thing. And it's funny how the world can just like hammer you, and then you have a thing like Festival coming up in November. We have our big beer festival we call Festival every year, and it is a beating. Like organizing a festival for 500 people that's outdoors and everything is so much work going into that. And then it's like work, and then you get to festival day and it should be like all smooth sailing downhill, but now it's the big show. Like now you have to like be there for 12 hours just like cranking it hard, on point, talking to people. But you also gotta be drinking beers and like having fun and being you don't get to be the guy running the beer festival and like angry on an earpiece pacing around like you know, it's like sometimes as the owner, boss man, sometimes my job is getting mad and being shitty to people because that's just business. But like on that day, you have to work so hard. But then also it's like you better smile every second of that day. But it's like you were saying, it's like it's so activating. Like the alarm goes off that morning and it's like, Festival, let's do this. You know, it's like it just happens.
At the end of the day, you're like, Festival, we did this.
Totally.
I'll see you next week. Yeah.
I walked 20,000 steps today.
I always get the drunkest after Festival because like 9 o'clock hits, we're done, and then I like drink real hard, and then
you come off that adrenaline high. You've just been going and going and going.
Cranking it hard all day.
Oh
like,
yeah. And then all of a sudden it's done, and you're just like, okay, cool, I can stop. And you're like, and you just come down. That adrenaline stops, but you're just like, fuck it. Where's the whiskey? Just give me, just keep it coming. Just right here.
Pushing all the porta potties to the corner of that parking lot is my favorite part of that day. It's like, oh, we did it.
You never thought growing up that pushing porta potties would be a highlight of any of your days.
No way.
And kind of fun.
It's like it really.
You get two people, you can slide it.
Yeah. It just.
But that night
encapsulates
is.
the day.
I was telling you this the other day. It's that Jay and Silent Bob movie. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to go to that 10:30 show because I'm going to be a little under the influence and tired as fuck.
Oh, post.
That's going to be good. That's going to be awesome, dude. I'll fall asleep in Texas theater. That's what's going to happen.
I need to call my aunt and get my aunt to invite Kevin here before.
That'd be sweet.
Did you ever watch the show Frasier?
Oh yeah.
So my aunt was on Frasier. She was Roz in the radio booth. Roz Doyle, like in the producer of Kelsey's show. Yeah, so my aunt was Roz on Frasier, and
is it okay for me to say I kind of had a crush on her?
Totally.
Dude, I totally had a crush on her. And I saw her like 6 months ago at the wedding. I was like, what's up? I mean, my wife was there and her husband was there, but I'm like, what's up?
Man, that really threw me. Where was I going?
Jay.
Oh yeah, so I was at Texas.
I'm still thinking of your aunt.
I was at Texas Theater. Texas Theater is famously Dallas history-wise, where Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for his infamous crime. Whether or not he did it or not, we won't get into that on this Growlersations. But
No way he did it. No way.
But they walked in, they arrested him, and then Kevin Smith, Zoom to now, Kevin Smith was recording his podcast there that day. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. I'm just kind of a general nerd, so I am going and watching Kevin Smith, and while he's on stage, he starts talking about how he's the biggest Frasier fan, and he started a podcast because they never released commentary for the Frasier DVDs, like director's commentary. So Kevin Smith started a podcast called Talk Salad and Scrambled Eggs, and it's him and a couple other people doing director's commentary for the entire season, all 11 seasons of Frasier. And he was on stage talking about how he loves this podcast. He's the biggest Frasier fan, and hopefully someday he'll get somebody from the show on his thing. And I'm like calling my aunt and being like, I tweeted them together. I was like, Kevin Smith, Perry Gilpin, and it's like, you guys need to meet like right there at the table during his podcast. And she ended up going to be on his show and did like a director's. Oh, he totally freaked out.
Oh yeah.
She gets off afterwards, and I call her. I was like, so how'd it go? She's like, oh, I want to introduce you. You and Kevin Smith would get along so well. I'm like, yeah. Like, one of my 10 favorite celebrities that I like paired with my aunt. Of course we would. That was why I set you up with a stranger. So maybe I can get Perry to get a Kevin Smith swing by for an early day.
That's awesome. I love that.
Can I get in on some of that action there? I'd like.
That's right, Kevin. We would love you to be here.
Noon shotguns with Kevin Smith. All right, it is time to go. How much? You don't have to finish your beers. I'm going to finish mine. We're on growler number 3, so they don't have to be empty for everything to be going. Anton, thank you so much for fighting the good fight, keeping us going. Anton's with Central Track, who makes this whole thing happen. Dave Smith, my man, thank you for coming in from California and spending your early afternoon getting
Smith and Wilson are about the same.
with us. What?
It's Wilson, but he said Dave Wilson.
Oh, sorry.
But you know what? I was like, Smith and Wilson, it's actually about as common.
No, the Kevin Smith story
Sorry, I
threw me.
can't do that, Dave.
Dave Wilson was a regular at our old taco shop. We used to have a Dave Wilson taco.
No shit.
Yeah, on our menu. Yeah, he's like a neighborhood sound producer, engineer, neighborhood guy. So it's kind of fun. I can't believe I screwed it up.
I can't. 'Cause I screw it up often myself, so don't worry.
Dave, thanks for coming out.
Hey,
Anton,
cheers.
Central Track, Ollie, Jeff, everybody, and especially any of you that are still following along and listening. Thank you for letting us do this, and we'll see you guys next week with Jason Caswell. And
Cheers.
we're out.
Thanks, guys.